welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are going to be carrying on with this picture from Eriy. So today I thought we would start with the water scene. So the first thing that I'm going to do is add in the reflections into the scene. So I'm going to take Naples Yellow Light, which is the colour that we used for the moon, and I'm going to add a bit of a shadow onto the water where the moon would be hitting it. So again, this is quite a light colour, so you might not be able to see it straight away, but I'm just going to do backwards and forwards motions and just add a bit of shade there where the moon would be catching. Next I'm going to go in with Azalea Pink, and I'm going to add a little bit of a reflection from where the castle would be sort of reflecting into the water. So again, I'm just going to do sort of light pressure but backwards and forwards motions and just make out like a little piece of pink there as a reflection from that little one there. And then here I'll do the same, so just sort of backwards and forwards and just add a little bit of the pink colour into there and here, and I'll do a tiny little bit over here. So I'll just darken it up a little bit so that you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so then going in with mauve, which again we used on the castle, I'm going to do the same here. So I'm going to add some of this colour here to make a bit of a reflection from this part of the house. And I'll do the same here. And over here. And then going in with Lemon Yellow Light, I'm going to add in some light reflections from the windows. So like here there would be a bit of yellow there, so I'm going to add a bit of yellow over the top of that pink. And then here we would probably have some about there, and then a little bit further up for the top windows. I'll add a little bit there for these top windows. We'll have a bit over here for that door, and then we'll do a bit there and a bit there and there. I'll just bring that pink down a little bit more. Okay, so next I'm going to go in with Cobalt Turquoise, which is 048, and for this I'm going to do like the really light bits around where we've got the reflections. So I'm just going to go in sort of side to side motions again, take this up to the pink and just use light pressure, but sort of go over all of the colours as well, leave some sort of like little gaps in between. So I'm doing it from side to side to try and make it look a bit more like water, because there is sort of like light reflections on the water, and some parts are darker, some parts are a bit lighter. So here you can see where we put the Naples yellow underneath. It's just starting to lighten the blue look. Next I'm going to take Cobalt Turquoise Green 101. So this is like a bit of a darker colour. So I'm going to go ahead and add some darker bits where I want the water to look a little bit darker. So I'm going to start down here, and I'm going to darken this up because it would be in a shadow, and a bit darker because it's further away from all the light areas that we've got. And then I'm just going to sort of take it out in random sort of patterns, just to add a little bit more colour to this. So I'm going to do some here, so where the light reflection stops, and I'm just going to make it into sort of wiggly lines just to give it a little bit more texture. So I'll do some over here. So next I'm going to take teal green light, which is 049, and I'm going to add some more darker colours into this as well. So what I'm going to do is sort of concentrate it where I've got the other colour that was a bit darker, and just sort of add some more depth to this water. So I'm going to do some up here in this edge and darken that all up. Okay, and then I'm going to go back in with Cobalt Turquoise, which is 048, and I'm going to go over where we left the lighter shades and just start to sort of darken this up a little bit and add a little bit more colour to this. I'm taking this over the purple and the pinks and the yellows that we put in because I don't want them to be too bright. I just want them to be like a little bit of a reflection. And it's just a case of sort of building this up and adding more colour to it where you feel like it needs a bit more colour. So I'm going to go back in with teal green light, and I'm going to go over some of the darker shading just to sort of make it a little bit more noticeable. Go ahead and darken up in here, in between the fruit. And I think I'll darken up this bit here as well because this would all be a little bit darker. We'll add a bit more shadow to the very edge. And then just sort of lift the pressure to blend that out so it's not such a harsh line. Okay, so I'm going to go back in with Cobalt Turquoise, which was our lightest colour, and I'm going to go ahead and fill this in now so that it blends all the colours together. So I'm just using more pressure on this part here. Then here where we've put the reflections, I'm just going to go over them again just to darken them up. So I'm going to go in with Azalea Pink, and I'm going to take this over the top of the blue that we've done and the yellow that we added, and just sort of bring a bit more colour to that so it's a bit more visible. So I'll do the same over here. And again, I'm just going in side to side motions so that we don't have any sort of straight lines or harsh edges on this. And then I'm going to do the same with the mauve. So I'm just going to go back over the mauve. And then back in with Cobalt Turquoise, which is our lightest colour, and just go over where these meet. Going back in with our Naples Yellow Light, I'm going to go over where we added the shade from the moon. I might need to do a more of a yellowy colour, but we'll see how this picks up. Okay, so I'm going to try the lemon yellow light just to add a little bit more of a colour onto here. So I'm not going to do as hard a pressure because it might come up quite bright. Oh, it's not, so you can use normal pressure on this. Just to add a little bit more of a reflection from the moon. So with this bit here, I want to make that look like there's a reflection glowing out of there as well. So I'm going to go in with lemon yellow light, and I'm just going to add some sort of light here where it would be coming away from this lantern. And I'll do the same for this side. So we'll go in with Cobalt Turquoise and just fill in around this. So I'm just using light pressure here, and I'm going to take this over the top of the yellow that we just put in. And it'll turn it like a little bit of a greeny colour. So here I'm just putting a bit more pressure on around the edge because we want the edge to be a bit darker. And then again, I'm just going to sort of go over the yellow and blend it all together. Then going back in with Lemon Yellow Light, I'm just going to re-go over this just to bring a bit more yellow into this. Back in with Cobalt Turquoise, and I'm just going to go ahead and darken up the rest of this water here. And then just going back in with Lemon Yellow Light, I'm just going to go ahead and go over this reflection. So I'm going to go back in with Cobalt Turquoise Green 101, which is a little bit darker. And I'm just going to go ahead and darken up these parts here where we put the bit of shadow from the trees, just to make this look a little bit darker. I'll just bring this down slightly and blend it in. Okay, so next going in with our Posca pen, the first thing that I'm going to do is go around the water line and make that like a white colour, because it would be lighter where the water meets the land. So I'm just going to zoom you in so that you guys can see. So I'm literally just going to go around the black lines. And then I'm going to go over these little lines that have been drawn into the water as well. So we'll go ahead and go over these with the white Posca. And you can make some of these a bit bigger than what they already are. So like this one's just tiny, but I'm just going to bring it out in both directions just to make it a little bit bigger. You can go ahead and join them up, just make them into more of like a little swirl. And then feel free to add some in. So like here where I've left the lighter parts, I'm going to add a few more into this to make it really look like the light is catching it here. Okay, so that's how the water's looking so far, you guys. So I think we'll leave that there for now, and then we can always come back to it at the end if we want to add a bit more colour to it. So I think what we'll do next is tackle these little trees here. So the first colour that I'm going to go in with is Cadmium Green 062, and I'm going to go ahead and fill in this with a base coat. Now I'm not going to do like the moon catching this one because it's obviously quite far away from the moon now, so this one would probably be darker than these ones that we did over here. So I'll just carry on and do a base coat on these. And then going in with Hooker's Green, I'm going to add some shadow to these. So this one that's at the back here, I'm going to fill in completely darker because it is pushed further back. And this bit at the bottom here, I'm going to fill in darker as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill in this edge along the side. So I'll just take that all the way down and then add some darker colour in here. And I'm going to go all the way around the bottom. And then just start to lift the pressure. I'm going to go back in with Cadmium Green and then just start to fill this in. So I'm going to go over it a bit more pressure here where we've got the really dark colour. Get that blended together nicely. And then I'm just going to lift the pressure as we come to the top edge of the tree. And leave that a little bit lighter. Okay, so next we're going to move on to these trees here. So the first thing I'm going to do is go in with Naples Yellow Light, and I'm going to add a reflection on these where the moon would be casting a bit of a gaze or a shadow or a shine. We'll go with the shine. And then I'll do this bit here for this one. And I don't think this one would have any because it's quite far back, so we'll leave that there for now. So next, going in with Peppermint Green 110, I'm going to use this to do a base coat on these. So I'm just going to go ahead with light pressure and just sort of start to fill these in. Now this is a more greeny colour than what we used on the other little trees, so they are going to look different. So I'm going to take this up and over where we put the lighter cream colour and then just carry on filling this in. Then going back in with Hooker's Green, which is our darker shade, I'm going to start to add some shadows to these. So for this one, I'm going to start shading it here where the other tree comes over it. So I'm just going to follow the lines and add some darker shade into this. Up to about there, I think, because the rest of that would be lit up by the moon. So I'll start to lift the pressure here. And then for the bottom section, I'm going to darken up from about here down. So a bit more pressure there, and then start to lift the pressure as you come up. This one, again, I'm going to darken up the bottom. And then start to lift the pressure. So I think we'll take that to about there. So go ahead and darken up the bottom bit and then lift the pressure as you come up to this top edge. Now for this one, I'm going to darken up all under here because this would all be darker. And then we'll do the bottom edge on this one as well. And then just start to lift the pressure here. So we'll go back in with Permanent Green. Permanent Green? And go over this. So I'm going to take it over where we put the darker colour so that it blends together. And then I'm just going to start to pull that colour up and fill in the top section of the tree. And then I'm going to go back in with Naples Yellow Light and just go over where we put the lighter shade, just to make sure that this is still quite light and that we can see where the moon is catching. And we'll do the same for this bit here. Okay, and I think that's looking a little bit harsh there. So I'm going to go back in with Cadmium Green 062, and I'm just going to sort of go over that and try and make the line blend in a little bit better. So this is a slightly darker colour again. So I'm just going to go ahead and go around where we've put the hooker's green and just see if we can get rid of that harsh line. Okay, that looks a bit better. Just going to add a bit more Posca here because I can still see some of the black lines coming through. So if you want to go over it again, feel free to just go over it and make sure that none of the black lines are showing. Okay, so next, taking Cadmium Orange 017, we're going to make a start on this little lantern here. So I'm going to use this to do the very middle part of the flame, and I'm just using really light pressure here and just putting some of this colour into the flame. Then going back in with Lemon Yellow Light, I'm going to go around the orange that we've just put in. And then I'm just going to use light pressure to fill in the whole of the lantern with this lemon yellow, so that it looks like it's full of light. Next, taking Cadmium Yellow Light, I'm going to go ahead and darken up around the edge of this flame because I want it to be darker than the light that's coming off of it. Okay, that looks a little bit darker. So then I'm going to use this and just slightly go in circular motions just around the flame itself, just to brighten up the glow that's coming off the flame. So I'm going to fill this in so that it matches the castle. So we're going to use Azalea Pink as our base coat on this. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a light coat on here. Then taking Grenadine, we're going to add our shade into this. So I'm going to go ahead and shade these bottom edges here, make these a little bit darker, and then leave the lighter colour in the middle. So I'll do the same for this one up here. So sort of darken up both of the edges and leave the light in the middle. And then the same for this top piece. So that we've got like a little triangle where the light's catching it. And I'm going to do the same here. So I'm going to darken up both of these two outer edges completely, and then I'm just going to lift the pressure as you come sort of halfway through into that middle one. So going back in with our Posca pen, I'm going to go around the outside of the flame so that we don't have the black line here. And I'll do the line in the middle as well. And then I'm just going to go over these edges here because this would be like, I assume it would be glass. So I'm going to fill this in. And again, this might need 2 coats to really hide it. Okay, and you can still see the black through that. So I'm going to go over that again. Okay, so I'm going to go in with an orange gel pen. And I'm going to go over this white that we've done with the orange gel pen just to make it look a little bit more like a flame. I was going to do it with the pencil, but the pencil was just taking off the white Posca that we'd done, so I thought we'd try it with this. Okay guys, so that's how it's looking at the moment. So I think I'm going to leave this video here. So that is part 3, and I will see you next Wednesday for part 4.